Alright, so today we're going to do the water pump on the TJ. Now this is a 99 4-cylinder, and it does not have AC. So, I don't know really why that matters when it comes to the water pump. That's one of the answers they give me, or the questions they ask me when once we get it. So here's our water pump. This is supposed to have a lifetime warranty on it. It's $29, and as you can see, the part number is CP7136. So that is what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be installing a water pump. Now to get to the water pump, what we're going to have to do is pull off an upper hose, pull off the cover, pull off the heater line, and then we're going to have to pull off one of the pulleys, and down at the bottom we're going to have to take off the fan. So, we're going to drain the radiator, and then we're going to move on to our next step. Okay, so as it drains, you go ahead and pull that off. We're just going to pop the overflow jug off to the side. So we can get in here. We're going to take this cover down, take that bolt out, take that bolt out. And this we're just going to slide out. Once that pops free, we're just going to move it off to the side. Alright, that way we can have access in there. Alright, so I'm just going to fast forward through some of this stuff. Mainly it's just pulling the hoses off. Now some of the times the hoses stick on there. So I just use a little flathead screwdriver and work around to kind of loosen them up, and that way they come off. If you have your own way of doing it, then fine. Just go with that, but as it states right now, we're just going to go ahead and skip through a lot of this, that way you can see it. Alright, so you can see we pulled our belt, we pulled our lines, drained it, removed the tank, loosened up the bolts on the shroud, went in here. There's those little bolts right there. That's what you need to pull. It's not like the 6-cylinder that has the nut in the middle. So you have to wiggle the shit out of it to get the fan, and there it is. The fan comes loose, and if you're real careful, you can get it out. So there's the fan. Next, we're going to pull the shroud off, and that way we can gain access down in there. Get a good look at it. Now you can get a good look down in there. And you can see where it started leaking. It's right down in there. So what we still have to pull off is we have to pull off this. Disconnect the line right up here. Take this off and unbolt, pull that off and clean that out. So that's what we're going to do next. Okay, so I'll move my bucket to catch more coolant once this starts coming off. me. Okay, a little frustrating, but found out you gotta pull these 3 bolts, and then down there on the block there's another bolt you loosen up just to get this out of the way. Never had a vehicle like that where you had to do that just to get to the water pump. And then my stud had snapped off when I was taking it off, so I got my remover, pulled it out. So I'm going to have to see if I got another one. Now we're going to clean this gasket off. And try not to gouge the block. Get this cleaned up. Get it ready for the new gasket. Put something in your block, and that way you try to keep some of that material back out of it. Now look at the old one. And look at the new one. Look at that. So, yeah, it was a necessary evil. I had to get that thing replaced pretty quick. So as you can see, I got the water pump clamped up. This is the heater line. Take a 3/4 on it, put it on there. And it comes right off. Now you'll notice with our old water pump here, it's a lot thinner than the new one. Much heavier aluminum. So again, I'll take the pump, put it up on here. Now, you can use a bench vise, or just if you're really good, you can clamp it with your feet or something. It doesn't take overall that much pressure. It's just you got to keep it flat. Remember, this is aluminum, and you don't want to put too much pressure on it. Now where do I put the thread tape? There we go. That should be about right. Again, I didn't put any pressure really on that. Now it's time to put the gasket back on and get it going. Got some red RTV, so it's good for water pumps, oil pans, and valve covers. Put a ton of this on. here to ensure that she sticks real well. Now, do another little layer right here on this side, just like before. I know some people don't do this, but I've replaced so many gaskets with RTV. I've had more luck with RTV holding longer. So, I would much rather just...
Unfortunately, I'm recording with two cameras, and I wasn't watching the other camera. I had it propped up over top the engine, so I was talking into it, and the other stuff I was actually using my other camera for, and I did not realize that batteries had died. So I did not get the section of me actually putting the water pump back onto the Jeep, but it's pretty simple. You just put it in there, line up your bolts, tighten it down, torque it to specs, and then put your bolts back on. The power steering, you just shifted it over, propped it back up, put those two bolts in it, put the 3 on the actual power steering pump, and tightened them down. And then I went ahead and reinstalled the fan shroud, and then started hooking up the rest. As if my day didn't suck enough, breaking bolts off and forgetting my phone, so I'm over here without anybody to even phone a friend. I realized after I start putting the other water pump back in that this right here, these studs, so I took the bolts, jammed them together, and used a wrench over here, held it in place, and just unscrew them. And I'm going to install them in there. The other one after I've already put it in there, so yeah. Alright, so put studs back in, put that pulley back on there, put the belt on it. Now we're going to go ahead and reinstall the fan shroud and the fan. Get that put in there. So once we do that, we'll hook up the last bit of lines, and then we'll test her out. Okay, so this is the last piece. I'll slip a hose on. Hopefully without any issues compared to everything else we've done. Alright. Install our clamps. I'm going to bump the motor a little bit and make sure that my belt is going to stay on there. And then we'll go ahead and refill it. See how she runs. Alright, so we got the old girl running. Checking for leaks on our line. Looking at the belt. Looking on the fan. Got our lines down there. Looking for leaks off our line up there. Where I spilled some earlier, got coolant smoking off the pipe. So I see something right there dripping. I'm not sure if that's old stuff or stuff from this here. I'm going to let it run and we'll see what it does. Alright, so basically we're going to go give it a little test drive. Everything didn't go like I was hoping for. I've changed water pumps on a couple different vehicles now, and this one was by far the biggest pain in the ass. I snapped one of the bolts off, and lucky enough I had another one that was the same size and thread pattern and same grade, so I went ahead and replaced that. But you know, having the power steering thing in the way, on a 6-cylinder is very simple. You just basically pull your fan off. I was kind of expecting the fan to be the same way. I didn't even look. And then the studs, forgot about the studs until after I'd already installed the water pump, so I just used the 2 nuts as a jam nut and went ahead and unscrewed them, reinstalled them, torqued them down, and now I'm out giving a little test drive. So far I am good. I'm at 210 and I haven't noticed any major leaks. I've seen some dripping right there at the bottom of where it was, but there was some fluid still around that edge, so I'll have to see. I'm gonna let it cool off here, recheck the fluid level, get up underneath it, and see if I have to tear it apart a second time today.